Hexagram number 37. The family. This hexagram defines relationships between people within the family unit. Working in a background position and relying on the power of inner truth. This hexagram defines relationships between people within the family unit. This may also mean the spiritual family or the human family. An old Chinese proverb says that if you want to correct the world, you must first correct the state. If you want to correct the state, you must first correct the family. If you want to correct the family, you must first correct yourselves. Working at self-correction is of the first and perhaps only importance. By making one's attitude correct, great changes in others' attitudes are made possible. As the sixth line indicates, we influence others through the force of inner truth rather than through the exercise of physical or verbal power. Perseverance of the woman means that we cultivate the receptive and persevering components of our nature. For these activate the power of the creative. This means that we must often work in a seemingly insignificant position in which we forego striving and self-assertion. While we are always firm in our values, we remain gentle in dealing with others. Another proverb says, "Be like water. Water is soft, but its force is irresistible." True leadership, from the Ching point of view, is not standard without, True leadership from the I Ching point of view is not standing out in front or on top. We support from beneath through patience, inner firmness about what is right, and inner independence. We are always ready to withdraw when the moment requires it, to go our way alone. This is to truly love. Instead of acting overtly, we allow the power of just and correct thoughts to penetrate to others. By keeping neutral in attitude, we allow ourselves to be called into action spontaneously as the moment demands. The inner truth we convey to others is the essence of the matter. What is universally true. We need only recognize this truth for it to penetrate to others. We neither project our thoughts, exercise our will, nor say or inner truth is also the higher truth we do not yet perceive, we can put our trust in this higher truth to show itself at the right time and to have the correct effect. We need only trust that it exists. To trust means simply that we suspend disbelief until inner truth shows itself. We respect only greatness of soul, humility, sincerity, and constancy. Otherwise, we remain patient and firm in dealing with people's faults. Changing line number 1. Firm seclusion within the family. Our work is straight before us and concerns the way we relate in our inner attitude to people with whom we have a direct relationship. Our job is not to preoccupy ourselves luxuriously and magnificently. Our job is not to preoccupy ourselves luxuriously and magnificently with remote or abstract issues, but to confine ourselves to the problem put directly to us to solve. This means that while we should not become preoccupied with events outside our immediate sphere, we should nevertheless develop a correct attitude toward them. For in attaining a cosmic perspective, we activate the power of truth to rectify them. If we hear reports of injustice, catastrophe, famine, or misery, we should not become, we should not bemoan them or chastise the cosmos or indulge outrage and blame against the cruel and the unjust. In doing so, we galvanize the cause of injustice. We should not distrust the power of the creative to correct decadent situations or doubt its inclination to come to the aid of the miserable and defenseless. If decadence has been brought to light, it means that the creative is actively at work, putting the situation before the human conscience. This gives us the opportunity to exercise a creative attitude. The conscience of humanity bears heavily on those who, up to now, under the cover of anonymity and obscurity, have indulged their indifference and cruelty. However, in regarding their offenses, we must not see them as outside the human family. We must endeavor to discover as sincerely and deeply as if the person were our own child, gone astray, why the offender does what he does. If we have dealt sincerely with our own bad habits of mind, we will understand that others have merely carried some of our seemingly harmless attitudes many steps further. We should regard offenders as the sage has regarded us and our offenses. This attitude is never to give up on anyone's ability to return to his better nature. Correcting others requires that we be consistently correct within ourselves. We respond affirmatively when others are correct. We withdraw when they indulge in temper tantrums, spoiled demands, or negative attitudes. If one occasion we are lenient, if on one occasion we are lenient, with the child who marks the furniture, can we blame him if he marks it at a later time? If we have spoiled someone by yielding to his wrong attitudes, we can only break his childish will through correcting our lack of self-discipline. We are not allowed the luxury of supporting people's egos. Changing line number 2. She should not follow her whims. We follow our whims if we depart from self-discipline by striving to influence and force results. Each person must have space to find his own way and freedom to learn through his efforts. This means we must often stand aside in what seems to be an unimportant or unnoticed position. Adherence to this duty has creative results far beyond casual observation and beyond the immediate time and place. This line also indicates that we have stopped attending to our inner thoughts to concentrate on what others should or should not do, or we have stopped attending to those in our immediate circle to romantically save the world or conquer outer space. This is not to say we should not go into outer space. It is simply that we should not be so ambitious as to compromise what is truly important. When we forget our life of the moment to dwell on the past or to fantasize about controlling the future, we follow our whims. Changing line number 3. When tempers flare up refers to times when another person's ego asserts itself forcefully. This calls for maintaining reserve. We do not dally and laugh with him. Duty requires that we remain withdrawn and reserved until his inferior man is displaced by renewed modesty. In this case, it is better to be severe than too weak. Sometimes this line refers to flare up of the temper, especially our impatience, with the length of time it takes to correct the busy, forgive me, sometimes this left line refers to the flare-up of our temper, especially our impatience with the length of time it takes to correct the situation, and to being angry at how much we must endure. If we busy ourselves with such feelings, the sage withdraws, so that in addition to all else, we feel abandoned. Changing line number 4. She is the treasure of our house. Great good fortune, the welfare of those around us depends on our right actions. We further the general welfare when we resist getting swept away by considerations of self-interest. This line calls us to reflect on whether we are doing things for the right reasons. Checking ourselves for hidden motives helps us keep in balance. The conscious person cares to do things for the right reasons. Therefore, he produces great good fortune for all. Changing line number 5. As a king, he approaches his family. The king symbolizes the way the sage relates to us, his family. Love, not fear, is the basis of this relationship, and therefore it can be trusted. The love that the sage bears us by his ceaseless caring and trust in our superior potential provides example of the selfless loyalty we are meant to develop for those in our charge. Although we must often disengage and let people go, we do so not because we are indifferent, but because we care, and because we cannot give up on the smallest remnant of what is good in them, or on their potential to return to their true selves. Changing line number 6. His work commands respect. Only through developing our highest nature can we influence others correctly and create order in life. This means that we develop a firm sense of values. We are unwilling to compromise. This sense of values acts as a storehouse for inner truth. Though all difficulties, we cling to it to provide the solutions and point the correct way to proceed. We firmly and resolutely follow our path. We are glad when others walk with us, going toward the good in themselves and we freely leave behind those who take different directions. When we succeed, we go forward without hesitation, not dwelling on our accomplishments. When we fail, we go forward without hesitation, without recrimination, without useless self-flagellation. Thus, our work commands respect. This ends hexagram number 37.